The wind clawed at the mountains like a wounded animal, rattling the wooden panels of the old cabin perched at the ridge. A single lantern flickered in the window, struggling against the darkness that swallowed the valley in sheets of icy rain. Inside, the cowboy moved with the slow, steady precision of a man used to surviving storms, both the kind that tore across the land and the kind that tore through the heart. Cole Maddox had been called a lot of things in the nearby town of Dusthaven: quiet, dangerous, reliable, stubborn, loyal to a fault. But no one knew the full truth about him. No one knew the reason he kept himself up here in the mountains, away from the noise, away from the memories. No one except her. He stood over the wooden table, sharpening a hunting knife by lantern light when the first knock came. It wasn't a knock, really more like a faint tapping, so soft that he thought it was the storm playing tricks on him. But then it came again. 3 gentle raps, fragile, desperate. Cole froze. No one came up this far. No one should even know the trail unless they had reason. And in weather like this, impossible. He set the knife down slowly. There was a 4th knockweek, as if the knuckles barely had the strength left. And then a voice, muffled but unmistakable. A voice he had told himself he'd never hear again. A voice he had buried like a ghost. "See Cole, please open the door." He nearly dropped the lantern. It couldn't be. No, he was imagining it. The storm, the loneliness, the years of trying to forget. Maybe his mind had finally cracked. But the voice came again, cracked by wind and cold and grief. "Cole, it's me." He moved before he could think. His boots hammered the wooden planks as he crossed the cabin in 3 long strides, and threw the door open, and the past crashed into him like the storm behind her. There she was, Elara Hayes, the widow, the woman who had once lit up this mountain like sunrise, the woman who vanished from his life the day she married another man, the woman who had stood beside a grave just 3 months ago and lowered her husband into the earth. Her hair, usually tied in a neat braid, hung in soaked, tangled waves over her shoulders. Her shawl clung to her like wet paper. Her eyes, those deep, storm-swept eyes, looked shattered, and for a moment, Cole forgot how to breathe. "Elara," he said, barely above a whisper. Her lips trembled. I didn't know where else to go." He pulled her inside before the storm could rip her from the porch. The door slammed behind them, the wind screaming against it as if furious to lose its prey. She stumbled, nearly collapsing, and Cole caught her by the arms. Her skin was ice, her fingers blue at the tips, her breath shaking. "Sit down," he ordered, guiding her to the chair nearest the fire. "You're frozen through." But Elara shook her head, clutching his wrist not hard, but with the terrified desperation of someone who feared if she let go, the world might swallow her whole. "No, please, don't leave me. Not yet." Cole stiffened. He hadn't touched her in years. He hadn't heard her voice without breaking inside. "Elara," he said quietly, forcing steadiness into his tone. "I'm just getting a blanket. I'm not going anywhere." She looked at him for a long moment, searching his eyes like she was making sure he wasn't lying. Only then did her grip loosen. She nodded, sucking in a shaky breath. Cole stepped away only far enough to grab the heavy wool blanket from the hook near the door and draped it around her shoulders. As he did, he noticed the way she flinched, not from him, but from pain. "Elara," he murmured, lowering himself so he was level with her. "What happened?" She stared into the fire. The flames danced in her eyes, but there was no warmth in them. "It's my fault," she whispered. "All of it." "What is?" "Everything." He waited. He didn't push. He never had. That was one of the reasons she once said she trusted him, even when she left him behind. Outside, thunder cracked across the mountains, rattling the cabin. The fire hissed as rain bullied its way down the stone chimney. Finally, she spoke. "I thought I was getting stronger after James died. I thought the worst was behind me." Cole's jaw tightened. Her husband's name tasted like rust in his mouth. Not because the man was cruel. James Hayes had been good, kind, undeserving of the fate that found him, but because Elara had chosen him, and Cole had watched the woman he loved walk down the aisle toward someone else. Elara swallowed hard. But tonight, something happened at the ranch. His eyes sharpened. What kind of something? A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't bother to wipe it away. A man came to the house, asking about James's debts. Cole's breath stilled. "Elara," he said, voice sinking low. What debts? She squeezed her hands together beneath the blanket. Debts James never told me about. The fire cracked, sending sparks into the air. Cole leaned forward, his voice quieter, harsher. What did the man do? She hesitated, then shook her head as if trying to erase the memory. He was angry. He said I owed him now, that if I couldn't pay, he'd take what he wanted instead. Cole stood up so fast the chair beneath him scraped across the cabin floor. His eyes darkened like thunderheads over the plains. Elara, did he touch you? No, she said quickly, reaching out as if to stop him from exploding. No, Cole, I ran. I grabbed my horse and rode. I didn't know where I was going. I just ended up here. Her voice cracked on the last word, and then she whispered what broke him completely. I didn't know who else would protect me. Cole's breath left him in one long, slow exhale, and the anger simmering in him shifted into something deeper, something tighter, something he had sworn he'd buried the day she became another man's wife. Elara, he said softly, you're safe now. Nothing's going to happen to you here, not while I'm breathing. For the first time since stepping into the cabin, she looked up at him, fully eyes wet, lips trembling, face fragile with exhaustion and months of grief. I know, she whispered. That's why I came. Silence filled the cabin, but it wasn't empty. It wasn't cold. It was the kind of silence that only existed between two people who had lived a lifetime. In the spaces between the words, they never said. Cole knelt again, this time slower, his rough hands hovering near hers but not touching. Not unless she asked, not unless she needed it. Elara, why didn't you go to the sheriff? Her laugh was soft, bitter, broken. The sheriff? Cole, you know, as well as I do, that Sheriff Brandt won't lift a finger unless he's paid or pressured. And I can't pay. Cole's jaw tensed again. This Haven sheriff was known for corruption, but threatening a widow? That was unforgivable. She took a shaky breath. I remembered your cabin, she murmured. I remembered the way you used to tell me, if I was ever in trouble, I should run to the mountains. His chest tightened. He remembered. He remembered every moment they'd ever shared, every word, every stolen glance. He'd meant it then. He meant it now. Elara, he said, voice rougher now, you did the right thing coming here. You hear me? Her eyes glistened. I didn't think you'd want to see me. Not after everything. Cole looked away for one heartbeat, then back. There's nothing you could do that would make me turn you away. Nothing. She inhaled shakily, and for a moment he saw it, the woman she used to be. The one who laughed at sunrise and hummed while braiding her hair. The one who once stood with him under the cottonwood tree and asked him what he wished for most. He had lied to her then. He had said he didn't believe in wishes, but the truth was standing in front of him now, wrapped in a blanket and stormlight. Cole rose slowly, grabbed the kettle, and placed it over the fire. You're staying here tonight, he said firmly. I'll take the cot. Elara shook her head. Cole, I don't want to push you out of your own. You're not, he interrupted. You need the bed more than I do. She opened her mouth to protest again, but then she shivered violently and he knew the argument was over. He crossed the room to check the window locks, the door bolt, the rifle rack, every corner of the cabin in quick, practiced motions. Elara watched him with an expression he couldn't read, part fear, part relief, part something else that stirred old embers in his chest. When he was done, he turned back to her. You're safe, he repeated. I know, she whispered again, and this time, she almost sounded like she believed it. Morning in the mountains didn't arrive gently, it broke across the horizon in a blaze of cold gold, slicing through the last shadows of the storm. Frost clung to the pines outside the cabin, sparkling like shattered glass. Inside, the fire had burned. Cursed. It was just a ranch hand from town, a scrawny kid named Nolan, leading a horse with 2 broken reins and fresh mud splattered up its chest. Elara's horse, she whispered. Cole lowered the rifle and stepped outside. The cold bit instantly at his skin, but he ignored it. Nolan looked startled, then relieved. Mr. Maddox, thank God Sheriff sent me looking for a runaway horse. Found this one wandering the foothills. Elara stepped out, clutching the blanket around her. Is Sheriff Brandt looking for me? She asked, tense. Nolan shook his head. No, ma'am, just the horse. Cole's jaw flexed. If the sheriff wasn't looking for her, then the man who threatened her hadn't reported anything. This was personal. Elara looked at Cole with rising fear. He's going to come back, isn't he? He didn't sugarcoat it. Yes. Her breath trembled. But he won't find you alone again, Cole added. Something steadied in her eyes, then trust so complete it almost stole his breath. Nolan looked between them awkwardly. Should I, tell the sheriff anything, Mr. Maddox? Cole shook his head. No, not a word. When Nolan rode off, the mountain quiet returned, heavier now. Heavier with the truth they didn't want to face. They had stepped into a danger bigger than both of them, and that danger was coming. Cole turned back to Elara. We need answers. Who was he? What debt does he think you owe? Elara swallowed hard, arms tightening around herself. I didn't know James borrowed money, Cole. The ranch was struggling, but I thought we'd manage. I thought he told me everything. Maybe he was trying to protect you, Cole said softly. She shook her head, tears rising. Or maybe he didn't trust me. Cole stepped closer but slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Elara, don't do that to yourself. James loved you. People make mistakes when they're scared. Her voice cracked. He was afraid of losing the ranch, and now you're afraid of losing yourself. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it. He left me alone. Cole, I didn't think it was possible to feel this, abandoned and still be breathing. He reached out, hesitated, then brushed the tear from her face with the gentlest touch he'd allowed himself in years. You're not abandoned, he murmured. Not anymore. Elara leaned into the hand before she realized she did it. For one heartbeat, the years fell away. The choices, the distance, the pain. It was just them, like it once had been, like it could have been. She blinked up at him. Cole, if something happens, nothing's happening to you, he said quickly. Not while I'm here. What if he goes after the ranch? Then we'll go see what we're dealing with, he said. Her breath hitched. Together. He met her eyes. This time he didn't look away. Together. Elara nodded slowly, gripping the blanket like armor. Then, I trust you. Those 3 words hit him harder than any punch he'd ever taken. He cleared his throat, forcing himself to step back. Pack whatever you need. We leave in an hour. Her eyes stayed on him a moment longer as if she wanted to say something else. But then she turned away, disappearing back into the cabin. Cole stayed outside, breath fogging in the mountain air. He looked toward the valley, jaw clenched, heart pounding with something dangerous and old. Protecting Elara wasn't just duty. It wasn't just the right thing to do. It wasn't even about the man threatening her. It was about the truth Cole had spent years burying. He still loved her. He always had. And now, she was back in his life, running to him, needing him. And he didn't know if he had the strength to let her go again. But right now, he didn't have the luxury of thinking about any of that. Right now, there was danger to face, and a widow who trusted him to stand between her and the dark. Cole looked toward the horizon. Let him come, he muttered under his breath. I'll be waiting. Inside, Elara gathered her things slowly, carefully, pausing every few seconds as if fighting back memories, fear or something deeper. When she stepped outside, with the small satchel slung over her shoulder, Cole was already saddling his horse. She hesitated beside him. Cole, thank you. He stopped, looked at her, and for the first time since she appeared at his door in the storm, he allowed himself to say what had been living in his chest since the moment he saw her again. Elara, I'm not doing this out of obligation. She swallowed hard. Then why? He held her gaze, steady, unflinching, honest. Because losing you once was enough. Her breath shattered. Emotion shook her shoulders. Cole looked away before he could say more. Before he crossed a line they might not be able to come back from. Instead, he mounted his horse and offered his hand. We ride together. no matter what's waiting down there. Elara placed her hand in his, warm, trusting, certain, and the moment he pulled her up behind him, something in both of them shifted, locked, and refused to move again. "Hold on," Cole said. She wrapped her arms around him, hesitant at first, then tighter. Tighter still. "I remember how," she whispered. The horse started down the trail. The sun climbed higher. The danger waited in the valley, and for the first time in years, Cole Maddox and Elara Hayes were facing it together.